only are they still putting a glass roof in and they're covering it with headliner, Tesla has stated that even if you wanted to modify it yourself and cut the hole for the glass in the inside, you wouldn't be able to see out of it because they're frosting glass on the standard cars.
Center armrest.
This has got to be one of the strangest cost cuttings ever. You get 18-inch Steelies.
Yep, that is. Save a couple $100 here.
Hey, you know what though? Closed on first try. I didn't have to push it on.
You didn't have to do the soft push. Yep.
I guess there's no weather stripping for me to have to compress.
That's right. Hello everyone and welcome back to another EV Geek Studio review. As always, he is Sebastian. I am Joel, and this is a 2026 Model Y base, standard, whatever you want to call it nowadays, but basically it's the low-end model.
Right, it's the entry-level model. They used to call it Model Y Standard. Now they just call it Model Y, which I think is a little confusing. So I'm just going to keep calling it Model Y Standard.
That's right. Huge shout out to Tesla, who's now here in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Billy and the crew up there took care of us to take it out a few hours, have some fun, do some reviews on it. Excited about that. You probably saw our previous video where we did the Model 3. Now we're with the Model Y. So Sebastian, we've driven lots of Model Ys, but nothing with this new configuration on this standard base model. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we drove the Model Y Premium, the refresh in Dallas. We did a video on that. You and I both were very pleased with that car. It rides like a completely different vehicle than the old Model Y does. This is interesting because in an effort to make the cheap Model Y, so this starts at 40 grand. It's $39,990 or something like that. So $40,000. To make the cheap version, they took a lot of the good stuff that they just put on the Model Y Premium in the refresh car. They took a lot of it off and replaced it with the old parts. Yeah. And so you end up with kind of a weird package. And we'll talk about that as we kind of go around the car and things they took out, things you still get, things they modified, differences. Like there's even some like sheet metal changes, which I haven't actually told you about yet.
Okay, cool.
And additionally, obviously you have like a different front end and things like that. So we'll kind of talk about that as we go. But it's just interesting to me too, because like we mentioned, we have a Model 3 video as well. And the Model 3, the things they cut from Model 3, but not from this, and the things they cut from this, but not from the Model 3, to then get into a similar ballpark, which Model 3 is a little bit cheaper. It's just very interesting to me. And one of the questions I'm going to kind of try to answer is, who is this for?
That's right. Because Tesla has tried making standard range.
Yeah, they've tried making base models before.
I had a Model 3 base. That was my first car. So yeah.
And this has some of the things you expect from the the standard base Teslas. And now the previous base standard Teslas, they use LFP battery packs.
Yep.
This is a traditional normal Tesla battery pack. That said, it's smaller than the Model Y Premium. It has a few less modules in it, so it's slightly lower voltage, slightly smaller range. This one's 321 miles, and I think the new Model Y Premium is in the 360s. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm excited to kind of go through and talk about what's different, what's changed, and just how you feel about it as someone who's owned a Model Y and as someone who's also been in the new Model Y since then.
Yep. So in the short drive we had over here, it kind of felt like it rode like my old Model Y did.
Which we can talk about more once we get through it.
Gotcha. All right, just like always, we'll do a quick outside, inside infotainment driving review, and then head back to Tesla and give you our final thoughts. So stay tuned. All right, Sebastian, give us a tour of this base 2026 Tesla Model Y.
Yeah, so one of the things you notice right off the bat, so new Model Y has this light bar all the way across the front. This one does not. You have your two LED lights up there, not matrix, so you also lose matrix lights by going to the standard. No light bar in between. I don't like it.
No fog lights either.
No fog lights or anything like it. I don't like the way this looks. I think it's too flat, too basic.
See, I don't like the light bar, so that's where we're going to differ on this. See,
because maybe if it was the bigger, kind of more bulbous lights like the old Model Y had, maybe that'd be better, but I just don't love this super thin light signature. But that's a personal opinion thing, of course. Coming around side, these are the base wheels now. You get 18-inch Steelies.
Yep,
with these big plastic hubcaps on it, which I want to remove so bad, but they don't want to come off very easily.
Yep.
And so that's what you get. There's like no ventilation, nothing, just a flat plate. Very interesting to me. You do still keep your typical Model Y goodies stuff though, like this. You get frameless windows, all that. And if you take a look up here, you can see this is a glass roof, which is really funny because if you look at the inside, you don't get it. So this is one of the areas Tesla says they cut for cost. They put the headliner in, whatever. I still struggle to see how is it cheaper to keep putting a glass roof on the car and then building a different headliner from the other Model Y versus just putting a steel roof or anything like that. And then on that topic, they not only are they still putting a glass roof in and they're covering with a headliner, Tesla has stated that even if you wanted to modify it yourself and cut the hole for the glass in the inside, you wouldn't be able to see out of it because they're frosting glass on the standard cars, which to me is an extra step that costs money. How?
They could have just left it glass and...
How?
Yeah.
Anyway, come around this corner, charge port, back corner as always, NACS as always, because it is a Tesla. These charge a little bit worse than the Model Y Premium does.
Why is that, Sebastian?
It's because, like I mentioned before, it is a slightly smaller battery pack with less modules, so lower voltage. I think it's like a 220 kilowatt peak versus 250 kilowatt. That said, that's really the main change. I feel like I'm going to break it when I do that. I hate doing that.
I had the same experience.
Come around back. This is, again, an area you can see differences. And there's a couple things to point out here. For starters, sheet metal difference.
Oh.
So on the new Model Y, this is actually, the back glass is squared off. This is two pieces to make it easier to repair, whatever. On the standard, this is more of the traditional Model Y shape where it's kind of this duckbill shape, all one piece. This is basically the old trunk modified then to fit the black trim here, not a light bar. So new Model Y has a light bar back here. This one does not. You just kind of have these very basic LED tiny lights.
Yeah, they are tiny.
On the side. You do, however, still get a power trunk.
Good.
On the base model. And you still get good room. Now, there's no parcel shelf or anything like this. We'll see kind of, when we talk about it, this definitely has an impact on the drive and how it rides and sounds. You still get that huge underfloor area that you expect out of a Tesla. Like, it's still it's still well packaged, but it's interesting. We're also going to talk about that here in a second.
We're going to those cup holders in a minute when I hop in the back.
If you want to get in the back seat on that side, I'll jump in the back seat on this side.
Sure.
So this will be your first glance at the new textile interior on this. I actually don't mind it.
I don't mind the cloth
you can see
interior
it's cloth, mostly cloth, and then has this leatherette material at the tops and in the center. If we pop back in here. So one thing that is different on this version, you don't get heated seats in the rear.
Okay.
You do still get two USB-C ports though, which is nice, as well as you still get air vents.
No screen.
No screen as well. And yeah, and so this is, actually this are a lot thinner feeling than I remember them feeling. But that said, it's backseat. Here's what's weird. Center armrest. This has got to be one of the strangest cost cuttings ever. Because this is just the trunk. Now the trunk is wide open to you, which would be nice if you're trying to haul something long.
A 2x4.
Or a ski or something. But this is such a weird way to get you a cup holder in the back seat still.
Yep.
That is bizarre to me.
Yep.
But other than that, I mean, it's Model Y. You have, like, I'm sitting up. Got good headroom.
Yep.
I got good leg room. The seat should be where I was sitting when I was driving earlier.
Fine for me too.
Tall. You can see you still got this pretty wide open space here in the middle too for middle passenger if someone was sitting there. And yeah, like space-wise, it's still good. And you don't really lose much by adding the headliner versus a glass roof. Well, versus allowing you to have a glass roof.
So I'm going to pop over and show you what's in this little console right here. So if you look down here, there's this little cover. And if you pull this cover off, that is the manual release to open the door. So if the car would lose power or something, you can't use your power door opener, there's the manual down there. So this cover holds it. It even shows you that that's what it's for. And it just covers it up down there. And if anything happens in the back, I don't think the older Model Ys had that in the back. As I struggle to put this in now while I'm filming. So yeah,
it's okay. Mine was already popped out on this side.
There you go. So I like that feature because I don't think my older Model Y had that feature in the back.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, which I'm still a little hiding it under a cover, but at least it's labeled and things like that. All right, let's pop out. I'm actually going to open for our next trick. I'm going to lean up here. Because this is another area that Tesla made some interesting cuts. So you still get a front trunk, as you would expect. They made it so cheap. So, in typical Tesla, this would all be covered.
Yep.
And this would be a nice whatever. You still get a decent sized trunk.
It would be this plastic material.
Yeah, it'd be this material, not this fiberglass tub. You'll also notice no weather stripping at all. So anything you put in here is going to get wet. If it rains or you go through a car wash, whatever, anything up here will get wet. Do not use this to store anything. that can't
There's
get
no
wet.
drain.
There's no drain or anything like that.
Yep.
You still get your toe up. But yeah, this just like fiberglass tub material is so interesting. And it's one of those things, it's like, why did they do this?
Yep.
Why
Can
did they
even see
need to
some
cut
sound
here?
installation
Um,
over there.
and just, yeah, this is bizarre to me.
Save a couple $100 here.
Hey, you know what though? Closed on first try. I didn't have to push
You
it on
didn't
it.
have to do the soft push. Yep.
I guess there's no weather stripping for me to have to compress.
That's right. You want to hop inside and take a look at the inside?
Let's hop inside.
All right, we are now inside this 2026 Model Y Standard.
Yeah,
Right.
which they technically don't call it the Standard anymore. They just call it Model Y, but I'm going to keep calling it Standard because, in my opinion, that makes it a little easier to tell what we're talking about.
It says STD for Standard.
I think that stands for something else. Anyway,
I don't know.
Anyway, so yeah, we're in here. Just kind of right off the bat, we can just talk a little bit. We're recording this a little out of order. Someone's
Yes.
getting a haircut today.
I had to get a haircut, so we're recording it out of order.
So we got cloth seats in here with this kind of leatherette up top.
Yep.
The center console area wide open to the floor.
Not used to seeing that in a Tesla.
I like it though. Big yacht area. Still get 2 wireless phone chargers on the Model Y Standard. Giant screen like you expect from Model Y. Here, your rearview mirror.
You digress.
I digress. Don't fully understand. But yeah, other than that, very Tesla interior. Makes sense. So looking in here a little bit, one thing that Tesla has removed on these cars, and not just from the standard trims, but actually all of them, is you no longer get autopilot.
Yep.
Which is a bummer.
Yep.
This one, because this is technically, we got this car from Tesla. Thanks, Tesla.
Yep.
That does have FSD on it. We'll talk about that when we go out and drive. But kind of coming in here, one huge thing might immediately notice is down here on the bottom, there's a new button. Let's see how long it takes you to find it.
The new button.
There's a new button.
I haven't had this Tesla for a while, so I would say the new button is it's the seat button.
It's the seat button.
Yes.
Because in part of their cost savings, they took the buttons off the seat. So you still get power seats, which is nice.
Yep.
But in order to adjust them, you have to come in here to a seat menu, and then you can slide them forward and back and raise and lower the tilt and move the backrest of a lumbar and all that stuff. Which, I mean, happy that it has all these things, but not super pumped. Okay, so
there it is. That's why I couldn't figure it out earlier.
You can also use the scroll wheel to do it if you don't want to hit the button on the screen. But yeah, seems like a weird choice to leave power seats, build out a whole screen menu, whatever, just to remove buttons.
Yep.
Anyway, and that's driver and passenger as well. Anyway, but other than that, this is just the Tesla infotainment system. Now, this has less speakers than the premium trim does. I think it's 7.
Yep.
Versus the 20 some odd in the premium. But other than that, this is just...
It sounded fun on the way over. We had some music playing.
Yeah. So we've got... This is the single motor, so you can come down here, we'll see Model Y. This is just single motor. There is a Model Y all-wheel drive, formerly known as Model Y Standard all-wheel drive. Anyway, you can see this has the new FSD4 computer with 14225. Doesn't seem like it has any update available, or at least it's not telling me it does. But again, this is technically not a sold vehicle, so that might be why it's not popping up. And so you can come in here and you see, like in self-driving. So this is, again, they got rid of autopilot. The only options here are traffic-aware cruise control and full self-driving. I still feel like that's a miss. You know, autopilot, really the only thing you're missing here would be lane centering outside of FSD. Because traffic-aware cruise control is just adaptive cruise. FSD is way more than just adaptive cruise, is the full shebang, but it's also now $100 a month. You are not able to one-time purchase FSD anymore. And so it's an extra $1,200 a year to get basic lane centering. And I just feel like that's a miss from a company that's safety-centered.
I noticed this car's been self-drove a lot.
Yeah.
Out of the 1,300 miles, 945 is self-driving. Woo,
yeah.
It's a lot.
But you can see in here, like you have speed profiles still. You've got the full range from Sloth to Mad Max. You've got actually Smart Summon, you've got your speed limit warnings, and basically your offsets. Typical FSD settings. I just feel like it is a miss to not do autopilot anymore. I don't understand that from Tesla. I got all the way out of there by accident. You can see in the controls again, you have a seats menu there. You do still get your glove box, still power open. Cool. These also charge a little worse. Do you know that?
Yeah, I know. I noticed the 0 to 60 was a little longer than the other ones.
Or the 1080,
sorry, yeah.
And it's because it's a slightly smaller battery pack. It has less modules.
Okay.
So it's lower voltage
Yep.
and therefore lower peak rate.
Yep.
Anyway.
I'm assuming the 1080 in about 30 minutes is what it probably does.
Yeah, I'll confirm that in a minute. But other than that, not a whole lot else I really want to talk about on the screen. This is the Tesla software. We know Tesla software pretty well at this point. At some point, they've added this little shortcut menu up here. I didn't know that.
All these cars now come with Grok?
Yes, you do get still on the base model. You still get heated seats, which is nice. And you don't get cooled seats though, and you don't get any of that in the rear. And you can come up here and climate. You still have your kind of power vents, and you can see they're doing a little sweep button, sweep mode. You have there. You still get a heated steering wheel, which is nice. You can still set up climate schedules. Really, most of the things that make this a standard are just some decontenting. Like you've got this cloth material on the dash of the doors and the cloth seats.
They did keep the one stock though.
It is. They did bring back the turn signal.
Yep.
On the refresh, and you still get it here. You still change gears by swiping on the thing, which I don't have my foot on the brake, so it's not going to let me. Tesla still does route planning better than everybody else.
They've nailed
Quite
it.
literally everyone else. Like if I want to go from here to Austin, Texas. Boom.
There it is.
Boom. It's got 1, 2, 3. Is that 4 stops?
Yep.
Four
quick.
stops.
They're all quick. They're all 10 minutes.
And it's charger hopping, so 16% for 5 minutes. I do wish it would tell you what percent it was charging to.
Yep.
10%. That's a short leg.
Hope the new Boston. Yep.
Then to Greenville, then to Dallas, then to Waco. And then
so I'm not to go back. Is New Boston on there or not?
Yeah.
Okay, that exit,
that's what I'm saying.
That exit is closed, by the way.
Hope to
you
New
got to go
Boston
down.
is a really short. I mean, you can see 210, 301. That's a bit of a weird decision in my opinion. And you can do fewer stops though. And you can see now it wants 3 stops, 24 minutes, 14 minutes.
That's a horrible charging station, by the way.
Yeah, it's a V2.
Yeah.
And then 41 minutes.
And it's like 10 minutes off the road too. So.
Anyway, but still, I mean, the fact that you kind of just boom, you can come in, you can set up your arrival energy. So if you want to make sure you get there at 35% up to 95, all the way down to 5%, cool. I said I didn't mean to hit 15, but whatever.
We'll probably
it's going to recalculate. And you can see, though, it is pretty quick to recalculate. And like, boom, we're done. It added a 5th stop to that, right?
And, I don't know, I think it's still the 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, it
5. Hope.
It did add, I think it had the Waxahachie.
Waxahachie, yeah. Anyway, we'll go ahead and end trip because we're not actually going to Austin.
Yep.
And you can also come in and do you can add radar and things like that, which right now we've got clear skies.
Just hot and sunny.
And we're upside down. There you go. But you have radar up here too now, which is kind of cool. They added that at some point. You can actually see it's actually playing it's playing through it. So it is actually moving. Kind of neat.
Yep.
We'll bump out of that. Don't care. It also you can have it show you chargers around you, which is nice.
And the nice thing about Tesla for their navigation, it figures in elevation, wind speeds, weather. It tries to do that for you, yes.
But really, not a lot else on this software I want to talk about because other than that, it's just a Tesla. You got your Spotify, you get Apple Music, and whatever else services you want. You have Sentry mode, you have camera. You do still get a 360 camera here, and you still get your front camera that they added on the new Model Ys.
Nice cameras too. And
they're good quality, etc. And yeah, let's see. Anything else, Joel?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Well, I guess after this clip, it'll be me driving it.
You're going to take it for a little drive?
I'll take it for a spin while you get your haircut. Why not?
Stay tuned. All right, so Sebastian noticed this interesting feature that there was a Spotify account logged into this car when we got in. We thought someone may have logged in, but during your driving review, which I was not part of, what did you find out about it?
Yeah, so I had signed out of the account, and then I went to try to put on some music because I was done recording. I was just driving.
Yep.
And I was like, I want to listen to something. And I went to put something on, and I noticed the Spotify was signed back in. And I come up here and you see it doesn't have his profile picture or anything. I think the car is doing it automatically because as I discovered, the Model Y standard does not have FM radio.
Oh.
They've removed the FM radio tuner from the standard car, which is a very interesting place to cut costs.
Yep.
So anyway, this clip will just kind of be thrown in there, but I just wanted to point out that I noticed that.
I bet you can see you have
tons of
Tidal,
options.
Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Sirius, podcast, TuneIn, karaoke.
And I feel like most people won't care that there's not FM radio. That's actually one of those things that doesn't bother
I haven't
me
lifted
that much.
FM radio in probably 10 years.
But
so yeah.
as you know, since I'm not the owner of the car and I was just driving it, I was just like, oh, I'll just put something on for noise.
Yep.
I just was like, oh, there's no FM radio. Interesting.
Yep. Thanks, Sebastian.
All right, we are out on the road. We are actually cutting through a neighborhood right now. I'm using FSD currently. I'm kind of navigating mainly because I wasn't 100% sure how to get out of where I was to get back kind of towards the interstate. But this is a good test because I actually get to feel city street driving. And one of the things you kind of notice immediately is this does not have near as solid of a suspension as the Model Y Premium after the refresh. And that makes sense. One of the ways Tesla says they save money on this is it has the old Model Y suspension in it, which for a lot of people, we will know this already, the old Model Y did not ride well. It just wasn't good. Now this is the tuned version of the old Model Y suspension because, you know, they kind of made improvements to it year over year. The 2024 Model Ys or 2025 Model Ys rode better than the 2020 Model Ys did. But even then, this is still not anywhere near as smooth as the actual refresh suspension from Model Y Premium. Wow, Tesla just went over a speed bump at like 25 miles an hour. Anyway, that said, though, it still feels quiet, like actual as far as like road noise goes. But you can definitely hear, like suspension and tire noise a bit more. And there still kind of has that Model Y boominess in the back that's caused by it not having the cargo cover and just kind of things like that. That said, FSD is doing a great job. I kind of expected it would. It is FSD 14. Whatever. I'm interested to see what it does here. The stop sign is marked pretty dang far back, and there is a hill. So let's see. Okay, it's going to inch forward. It's realized there's no way it could see this. And we're turning out a little bit in front of a car, but that's okay. We've gone in a bit of a circle. Anyway, but yeah, so that's kind of my just immediate is like, okay, the suspension is not near as good. I'm interested once we get out towards the highway and get on the interstate how road noise feels, because that was one thing, you know, we really were marked on when we drove the Model Y Premium back in Dallas was, you know, not only was the suspension good, but like it was quiet. You weren't crashing around and you didn't really hear things outside. It was a really nice experience, and you could tell Tesla put a lot of effort into fixing kind of the big sin of the Model Y. As far as just comfort goes, I actually don't mind these cloth seats at all. I kind of like the way they look. They feel nice on my butt. I do wish they were still cooled. I'm a sucker for cooled seats. But I am happy that at least on the base model, you still do get heated seats, which is, you know, always a plus and a win in my book. And yeah, I don't know how long this light's going to take to change. I'd like to keep driving. But yeah, and, you know, I miss having the glass roof. I think it's a little silly that Tesla still has a glass roof up there, but they just covered it up because I like having the light come in from the glass roof and all that. That said, I wonder if this car is a little cooler and easier to cool when it's hot outside because you don't have near as much sunlight coming in. And I do actually like that it's still a light headliner because it helps kind of feel a little more open in here. You don't feel as closed in. I know I'm in the minority on that. I've seen a lot of people, Tesla recently on like a Model Y Premium, started putting in a black headliner, and a lot of people were super excited and pumped about that. I'm, I guess, in the minority. I actually kind of prefer a light color headliner over a dark headliner, but I digress. That's just a matter of personal preference. And yeah, power still feels good. I'm going to take over just a little bit here, just for a second. Like, even for this to be the single motor, it still has plenty of get up and go, and for it to be a slightly smaller battery pack, and because it's a smaller battery pack with a lower voltage, it has slightly less horsepower than the regular or the premium Model Y does. And so, like, driving wise, it's fine. The suspension's a little worse than Model Y Premium, but this is more, cheaper. This is a $40,000 car still, and that is a kind of a talking point on the Standard is, did they remove too much stuff to get to that $40,000 price? And it's especially interesting if you compare Model Y Standard to the Model 3 Standard, because they didn't cut near as much stuff out of Model 3 Standard that they did on Model Y Standard. And at 40 grand, you're kind of in that ballpark. There's a lot of EVs now on sale at the $40,000 mark. We very recently, this morning, we drove a Subaru Solterra, and while this has much better tech than the Solterra does, you know, in the software department, things like that, the Solterra is also starting at 40 grand, is standard all-wheel drive, which does get you less range. So this is like 321 miles of range in the rear-wheel drive cars. You only get 288 on the Solterra, but if you get the Model Y standard all-wheel drive, that's now a $42,000 car, it's only like 294 miles of range. So the range is actually pretty close, all-wheel drive to all-wheel drive, and this car will charge a little bit better than the Solterra does. But this car, if you don't buy FSD at $99 a month, you have no lane centering or anything. You only have adaptive cruise control. Whereas on the Solterra, you get lane centering and adaptive cruise and lane keep and departure and all that jazz, just standard, no extra cost, whatever. Now, of course, FSD is a much better system than the ADAS system in the Solterra, but you have to pay $100 a month for it. And at that point, is it worth an extra $1,200 a year for all that features when you can get them standard on nothing? And even if you're not looking at Solterra, if you're looking at Equinox or Blazer or Hyundai Ioniq 5 or anything, all of those cars are in that similar range figure, similar price category. They'll all have heated seats. They all have standard ADAS systems. Now, I guess that's true except for the GM twin, Equinox and Blazer. You do have to get Super Cruise to get true lane centering in those cars. Otherwise, you just have basic lane keep. But like the Hyundai stuff comes with HDA, the Toyotas and Subaru comes with EyeSight, and there's other models out there, of course, too, in that price range. Those are just kind of the ones that first jumped to my mind. And that's kind of where it goes into. Did they cut too much out of this car? Now, I think just for the whole ecosystem purpose, if you're someone who wants a Tesla, like has always wanted a Tesla, and one of the things that's kind of kept you back is price, having a cheaper option doesn't hurt. It's one of those, having kind of an entry point, but at the same time, is it not, I kind of feel like it's worth maybe pinch pennies for a little bit longer so you can spend the $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 extra and get the premium and just have a much better car. It's kind of where I'm at with it. So I'm just going to leave it kind of here for that. Actually, we'll wait a second. We're going to get on the interstate, let FSD handle some interstate driving just for a little bit. That said, I know kind of how this is going to go. It's going to be pretty aggressive because we just have it in standard FSD profile. We're not using sloth or anything like that. And in my experience, at least previously, FSD in standard mode will still do 5 to 10 over the speed limit. That said, we'll see. We're also kind of in some traffic. It did some pretty good merging there. No complaints there. And yeah, out here on the highway, you can just really tell that it doesn't have the near as good of a ride as the Model Y Premium does, and sound deadening. And to me personally, that alone is worth paying the upgrade price to the Premium. Because that car rides so much better than this. Now, this still rides better than if you had like a 2020 Model Y, or if you've been like an early Model Y. This is still an improvement over what that gets, but it's nowhere near, Model Y Premium. It's nowhere near, honestly, some of those other cars I mentioned. Solterra rides pretty well. The Equinox rides pretty well. Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the EV6 and the EGMP cars ride well. They don't ride like this. They don't crash. They don't boom. All that jazz. It's just, that's one area on these cars I never understood why it took Tesla so long to get right. And ultimately, I don't super understand why I don't know. Suspension is one of those areas that is such an important part of the day-to-day driving of the car, because it's what, it's what you feel, it's what you hear, it's what you notice. I just can't get over how much I don't like the Model Y suspension outside of the new refresh cars. So anyway, we're out here, we're doing 67 miles an hour and a 60 mile an hour speed limit. So FSD's doing FSD things here, of course. That said, it's doing an excellent job getting around cars, keeping up with traffic, moving around, all that jazz. I have not felt unsafe a single moment except for that one intersection. Even then, it did a good job. It inched forward so it could see. It didn't cut anyone off too bad. There was a car coming, but it ended up being much better space than I thought it did. I thought he was moving faster than he actually was. So yeah, we're going to get off here and I'll turn around and we'll head back and pick up Joel. But ultimately, I personally think I would jump for the Premium. I'm interested to hear Joel's take when he gets back in. I'm going to let him drive around. We'll ride in it a little bit and see what he thinks. But I think I personally would spend the extra $4,000 to $5,000 and get the Premium trim level. All right, so we're back here at our Tesla, I almost said dealer. It's not really a dealer. Our Tesla store, Tesla shop, Tesla location. Tesla service center.
Yep. It's a service center. They can't technically sell in Arkansas.
Exactly. That's why I was like, what the heck do you call this?
Yes.
Anyway, so I drove over. I drove it. I gave pretty much my thoughts in the last clip. Joel.
I wasn't with you on that.
You weren't with me.
I was getting a haircut.
You were getting a haircut.
That's right.
Looks good. Good job.
Thank you.
Anyway.
I got them all cut. More gray when you get your haircut. Sorry, y'all.
Anyway, so Joel, you previously had a 2020 Model Y.
I did.
We've also previously driven the new Model Y Premium.
We did.
You and I both really liked the Model Y Premium.
We did.
We both said we would buy one.
Yep.
How do you feel about this car now that you've ridden in it, driven it, all that jazz?
So I will tell you this, I've never been a fan. Tesla has tried the standard range models before, Cybertruck Model 3, Model Y. I will say when I bought Model 3 Standard, compared that to the Model 3 at that time, which was not the Standard, it was all-wheel drive, there wasn't much difference. There was a difference maybe in amount of speakers, but interior-wise, everything was pretty much the same. I will say on this Model Y Standard, base, whatever you want to call it, I do like I like the interior. I like the cloth seats. That doesn't bother me and things like that. But what I get flashbacks to is driving in this car is this drives the same way as my 2020 Model Y all-wheel drive drove. The suspension is still not it's not as good as it's on the Premium. And maybe that's the purpose. Maybe the purpose is for you to get in this car and go buy a Premium. If that's the case, great for Tesla to upsell you. It's an awesome way. Or is just this the cheapest way to get someone in a Tesla?
Right.
And then their next purchase is the Premium model.
They lease it for 2 years.
They lease for 2 years and then they bump into a Premium. Or they have for 6 months and say, I want a Premium. They trade it in 6 months for a Premium. Otherwise, the things that you stated that bother you don't bother me. No light bar in the front, that doesn't bother me. I don't like the way the light bar looks in the front. I'm more of a fan of light bars in the back than light bars in the front. The ride is what issues. It brings back the memories of my 2020 Model Y and how it drove and how the suspension was real stiff and even the little bumps you could feel. Other than that, I like the way it looks. I like the interior. I like this whole opening down here. I do miss the cold seats because that's important down here. You know, I had that on my...
Which I brought that up. I was like, I really like the cloth. I think the cloth is comfortable. I like the way it feels and all that jazz. I do wish I had cooled seats though.
Yep. But other than that, software is the same. FSD is still amazing. You used it, the entire time,
basically the entire time.
Yeah, we used it when he picked me up for my haircut to back over here. We've just been using FSD the entire time. It's a huge... FSD is awesome. Tesla... I remember when I first had my car came with FSD. I remember when I first used it, it was horrible. It phantom brake. FSD is amazing now. Point A to point B.
How do you feel about the fact that you can only get it for $99 a month now? You can't buy it outright or anything like that?
I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent to that because when I got the car, I've always had it. So it's not like it was coming out of my pay. But knowing the improvements that it's made, I would probably pay for FSD.
Second question.
Yes.
How do you feel about the fact that you have to get FSD in order to have most of the basic driver's assistance
that bothers
features?
me a little bit too, because I will tell you this: when my wife drove my Tesla and we were on trips, she never used FSD. She used standard cruise.
Yeah,
and she loved that. You know, kept it in the lane. You know, things like that. For what she does, she doesn't like the car driving for
base
her.
autopilot.
Base autopilot. Yeah. So that would be a problem for her driving on trips like that because she would not use FSD. It's just a control thing for her. That's her cup of tea. But she would miss having the standard cruise control.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I know Tesla wants to sell FSD subscriptions.
Yep.
I know they want to make FSD money. But to remove just basic lane centering at a time when almost every other new car on sale has it. I mean, hell, even a Toyota Corolla has basic lane centering. It feels wrong.
Yep.
It feels misguided. Ooh, orange ID buzz.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah, that irks me a little bit because it's like you're buying this is the base model. It's $40,000, whatever. Cool. But then if you want to have your driver's assistance, you have to spend $1,200 a year.
And as you said, even that Soterra, which we reviewed a couple weeks ago, it had all the base. It was a $38,000 base car, the premium, the base model. Had all the lane keep, park, everything in there.
It's like there's no doubt this car does a lot of things better than anything else on the market.
Yes.
You know, Tesla software is fantastic. FSD is great.
Yep.
And at $100 a month, you know, I could see myself, I don't know if I'd pay it all the time, but I could see myself subscribing for trips and things like that. Like FSD does a great job. Basic autopilot was good enough for most things, for most people.
Yep. Totally agree with you on that.
And like software is great. I like the materials. I like whatever. Also, this is a manual wheel. I don't know if I remember to mention that earlier, but you like actually have to move it. There's not power, which doesn't bother me. I don't move the steering wheel that often.
And once you're in it, it's your car you're driving. You don't move it that often. So
but I did think it was a thing that they cut for the standard specifically. It was like, this is a great. I like Model Y. The standard really, other than some of the random things they cut, I would have to get out of the standard just because of a suspension.
Yep.
I have to. Only way I could see someone being fine with the suspension in this car is if they just never drove the other new Model Y.
Yep.
If you drove the Model Y Premium and this back to back or anything like that, you would immediately be like, oh, okay, the Premium is obviously the one to get.
Yep. All right. As always, we want to know your comments as well. Put those down below. If you are a Model Y, 2026 Model Y standard or base model driver, we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you think about getting one, we'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also consider becoming a member. Just $5 a month. Helps us do videos like this. And we will see you again on another EV Geek Studio Review. So long, everyone.